Gutanus Schnutanus, I hope you're well. So, earlier this year, a series of things lined up in such a way that for the first time in my life, I had a realistic chance of owning an original Roland TR-808, the most famous drum machine of them all. And it's an absolutely beautiful unit with the original box and the original overlay and manuals. The works. I can't believe it. I am dancing around the streets singing Hallelujah. Now, you might be thinking, whoop-de-doo, good for you. But aside from bragging on the internet, what can you really do with a tired old drum machine from 1980 in the 2020s? So I thought, I'll show you. So the 808 has that amazing raw sound that's rich and full and powerful and punchy and snappy and other adjectives. But as well as that, on the back, it has a full complement of individual outputs. And in the original manual, Roland said that this is so that you can process sounds or groups of sounds independently of one another. And the beauty of this is that you can perform with the 808 and interact with it, but also interact with the effects that it is running through and capture a performance rather than something passive. I'll show you a few examples. So there's three contrasting examples with just a handful of effects, and you can hear that not only can it go in any number of different directions, but that it always sounds interesting. And that's because the 808's raw sound is so good, it's so rich, it lends itself to being processed. But wait, there's more. So the next thing is that on the back of the 808, next to all the individual outputs, there are 3 trigger outputs, which means that the 808 is ideal for interfacing with modular synthesizers. So you can run sounds or combinations of sounds into the filters, or the ring modulator, or the voltage-controlled phase shifters, or flangers, or spring reverbs. But you can also be triggering and clocking things like step sequencers, or sample and hold circuits, or analog switches, and you can be activating envelope followers. So the two become completely integrated. So what you do on the 808 affects the synth and vice versa. I'll show you a few examples. So you can hear with just a few short examples, there are many different ways you can go with the 808 integrated with a synth. And it's all about, that interaction and capturing performances and using the 808 as an instrument rather than just a box that you press play on. But wait, there's more. So another thing you can do is pair up the 808 with a sampler, and depending on the sampler, it will have different features and functions and a different sound. And so you can sample sounds from the 808 into the sampler and manipulate them in ways that you can't do on the original hardware, but then run it in sync with the 808 so you can still capture a performance. So start with an Akai MPC60. That will get a video on its own, by the way, and let's see what we can do. So let's try a different sampler. This is a crummy old Boss delay from the 80s. It's a digital delay, but it does rudimentary sampling as kind of a byproduct of the way digital delays work. And so what you can do is record a sound in from the 808, and then on the back you can trigger that sound, so you can have it running along as part of the groove, which is convenient. But it gets weirder, because on the back they added this feature called keyboard control. And what it does is you can modulate the pitch of the sample in real time with incoming audio. So it's not CV or it's not MIDI. It's actual like modulator carrier stuff. So it's really a strange idea. And they actually put a kind of warning on it to tell you not to do it outside of a small range, because it will go completely bonkers. So of course the first thing you do is ignore that and go way outside of that range. So we can hook this up, have it fired off by the 808, but also have the 808 sequencing a synth that in turn is running back into here, modulating the pitch of that sample. Let's see what comes out. So that was something completely different again, and I need to go back through that audio, because in between the more weird and chaotic moments there was some really interesting stuff in there that I'm going to chop up and turn into loops and things. And I hope that I'm demonstrating that with the 808 you have this amazing raw sound and then all these outputs and all these triggers, and it's perfect for interfacing with effects, for interfacing with synthesizers, for interfacing with samplers. And I didn't even try combining all of those things at the same time, so I think there's still loads and loads of mileage left in the 808, and it's not just something I bought to do late night covers of Marvin Gaye. Alright, I partly bought it to do late night covers of Marvin Gaye. Now, a little aside, a number of people have asked me to do a comparison with the little Roland TR-808 boutique, and I guess this would be as good a place as any to do that. So you can hear it's not even close, is it? The original has this warmth and this depth and this je ne sais quoi. I'm joking. It's exactly the same. It's basically exactly the same. The differences are so minor, and this has got little sub-menus you can go in and tweak, like the tuning or, you know, the relative gains of different sounds. So I think you could probably get it even closer than that. They've done an astounding job with this. It's obviously a compromise in many ways. It doesn't have all those analog outs on the back. It's got that over USB, and it doesn't have all those trigger outs. It's only got one, and then it's got MIDI. So if you were wanting to do some of the stuff I was doing in this video, you'd struggle unless you hooked it up with a load of other stuff. But if you just want the raw sound of the TR-808 in some kind of hardware format that you can interact with, I really don't think you can go very far wrong with this. It stands up incredibly well to the original. There are other clones of the 808. I don't have them here. I'm sure they're fantastic. If you want the sounds but you don't want hardware, well, check this out. Where can you get that sample pack and the contact patch? On my Patreon, where you can also get the music from this video and the stems of the music from this video in case you wanted to go through individual parts and hear what I was doing. So there we go. I hope I've demonstrated that there is still lots of life left in this old drum machine and many, many things still to be explored. Huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you to you for watching.